Welcome everyone to another 9x live workshop. Today we'll be building, and the title is a little bit misleading, build an AI agent live with us. That was the smooth title, let's say, but we're actually going to be building a couple of agents with the focus on agents that can actually solve real work problems. So very excited, especially to see in the chat that there'll be quite a few people building their very first AI agent with us today. Before I hand over to the man of the hour, or this time we corrected ourselves, the man of the 90 minutes, a little quick introduction from my side for those of you who might not know us yet. So hello, we are 9x. You can find us over at go9x.com. And we are building your one-stop shop to learn AI and automation. And the reason we're doing this is we really believe that AI and automation are the most important skills that you can learn right now as a business professional. This is not something that only engineers and devs should be playing with, but every single business professional. And it's our mission to basically bring you these skills on a silver platter. And we do this in a few different ways. First of all, through our YouTube channel. So every week, we try every week. Let's see, sometimes we get a little bit busy, but we publish new AI and automation tutorials, the latest news, review the latest tools. Recently just published a video on the 8 use cases business professionals can use Claude Code for. So if you're interested in that, check it out. I'll drop a link in a second to our YouTube channel. On top of our YouTube channel, we also run these live workshops each and every week, like the one you are in right now. And next week's live session is together with Marcel, who is an N8N ambassador. And we are touching on a very important topic, which is evals for beginners. Evals being the way that you can actually test out the quality and the performance of the AI agents you build, the AI workflows you build. And so Marcel is going to be walking us through, first of all, what even are AI evaluations, evals, when you should use them, maybe when you shouldn't. And then we'll also go through a live demo of actually setting them up in N8N. Again, I'll drop a link in the chat in a second also to join that live workshop. And finally, through our courses. So we've tried to structure these to take you all the way from beginner through to advanced with our entry level AI starter, which is launching very, very soon. Then the AI operator, which is really about teaching you the basics of using AI as a co-pilot at work. So using AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, understanding the fundamentals of how these models work and how to prompt to get the most out of them. And then all the way up to our advanced program, the AI Builder, teaching you how to build AI-powered automations and AI agents like the ones that we'll be seeing today. So let me just go and grab those links and drop them in the chat. 1 second. And perfect. There you go. So feel free to check those out. And now with the shameless plugs out the way, we can get into the main event. And I welcome Aron, who is the head of community and education over at Gumloop. Aron, how's it going?
Good. How are you? Excited to be here.
I'm very, very excited. Again, I'll just leave maybe while you get yourself set up, Aron, on the screen here again, that QR code, but I guess we'll also be able to share the link in the chat.
Yep.
In the chat later. Then I will stop sharing my screen. For those of you who want to get the docs, you can also just use the URL go9x.me/gumbuild. And then you can find a little Notion page with, if you haven't already set up your Gumloop account, and also the dummy data that we'll be using for the AI agent live build. All right, let me stop sharing my screen, and then Aron, you can take over.
All right, I just dropped the link in the chat for future reference to get 1 month free of Gumloop, sign up through 9x, and get all the resources for today. I don't think, Jan, those plugs are shameless. Your courses are great, and I really appreciate you being here and such a great crowd. Welcome, everyone. Okay, my name is Aron Korenblit. I've really excited to see so many folks who are building their first AI agent, because that's precisely what Gumloop is all about. We are a automation platform for non-technical users. So I'm going to walk you through like a quick overview of what is Gumloop. And then we're going to jump into I'm going to build one step by step that you can just watch along, right? And then from there, I've never done this before, like a build live. And then I'm going to share resources and build alongside all of you. I have the chat open. If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Jan's manning that as well. But yeah, without further ado, let me do a few. And then Jan, you could be like the audience a little bit. If you have any questions, slow me down, speed me up. Really excited to kick off. Okay, So build an AI agent with me. So quickly, 3 steps. What is Gumloop? Really quickly. Then we're going to build some agent, and then we're going to go into Q&A and live build. So what is Gumloop? Gumloop is the easiest way to build and orchestrate AI agents. Like, we really mean that. We are a platform for non-technical users. We like to say the agents and the automations should be built by the people who are closest to the workflows. Those are your salespeople, your operations manager, your support managers. Really a horizontal platform for building and orchestrating AI agents. Let me talk a little bit, and Jan, this might resonate a little bit with you, right? Like, what is an AI agent, right? We used to live in a world where automation was deterministic. We would say something like, okay, well, when a lead hits a form or I have a meeting, I want you to take these 3 steps. And often we would think, like, how hard could it be? We want you to, enrich the contact, add it to Salesforce. And then we do 1, 2, 3. And then over time, we realize, actually, our workflows look more like this, right? Something happens, there's a condition, and then you kind of grow these super complicated automations that only technical folks or folks who were like deep in the weeds were able to build. And that's why you had these engineering teams, right? But the world today kind of looks more like this, right? Where we can have handoff to an agent most of the work, right? So the first example I'm going to bring to you is we're going to build an agent that prepares me for any meeting. But that takes a lot of steps. It's going to search the web. It's going to go to our internal systems. It's going to summarize that information. It's going to draft the email and it's going to send it to us. And then we'll simply tie that to our calendar for it to run automatically. In the old world, it would look like this. But what we like to say here at Gumloop is the only thing you need is being able to write out what you want to do, and the agent can help you there. So I say English is the only thing you need, or any language. I know I'm in front of a lot of Europeans who are much more multilingual than are. I'm Canadian, and I'm also multilingual. I don't know why I should say that, and so think of Gumloop as this middle layer. That's where we're going to start, and then we're going to connect it to our automation. So in Gumloop, you can build AI agents that connect to everything you use, including external databases, and can live in any place you work, right? So those 2 factors are super important. First, connecting to the tools you use every day, Google Calendar, Apollo, Notion, Salesforce. We have over 100 MCP connections. I'm going to use the word MCP. You actually don't have to know at all what MCP means, but I'm happy to jump into that. And we give you access to external data sources as well, included in your Gumloop subscription. Speaking of which, if you haven't gone ahead and created your account, go for it. Use code GO9X to get your first month free. That'll give you 10,000 credits. Should be more than enough for what we're covering.
And maybe on
today
that one, Aaron, if for people just signing up, just going to the platform via the link that I shared, your free account, you also have a free account which gives you 2,000 credits.
Yes.
And then
if you don't need to,
you basically,
exactly. Yeah, you can use your 2,000, and then most of what we'll cover today should be within that. And then you can upgrade, get that first month free to get an extra 10,000.
Exactly. But just to be aware, we always like to point it out, you will need to add your credit card for purchasing that first month plan, but then the first month is completely free. So you have 30 days to go and try it out.
Absolutely. And I always like to say, if you need a little more credits, it's one of the few powers that I have here.
Little DM to Aaron.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My email's not hard to guess,
Have you already got a Gummy managing your credit distribution?
I wish. I should actually. Endpoint security, though. You know what I mean? We're just okay. So agents live anywhere, can connect to everything, right? And as I build the first one, I hope what you take away is like how easy it is. And really, there's this spirit of trying it out that I hope to impart on all of you. So we're gonna build. Sorry, one more thing before we build. Like, what are agents good for? I would love to know in the chat. I saw so many people who are like, this is my first AI agent. I'd love to hear in the chat, like, what's stopping you? Like, is it that you haven't found the platform that was easy to use? Was it because you haven't found a use case? Was it because you're intimidated by words or time, right? Well, Magix, Ingo, you have 45 minutes in front of you. We'll build a ton. Too many options and cost, time, money. Just don't know where to start. Examples, have it time. Okay, so I think we can today This is going to be free. You've already set aside the time, and it's super easy to build. And I think this is the big thing, right? For people who are like, what would I build an agent for? Like, what's the use case? And honestly, personally, like as I've started using them, I use them for everything, right? So examples of where you would use it: moving data from multiple sources. So a good example I like to use here is not just like, let's sync Airtable to Webflow. You know, Jan and myself did thousands of demos about that. But actually more examples of like, hey, my data is in Salesforce, but my prediction and my kind of analysis is in Google Sheets. Could I have an agent pull the data I need from Salesforce, compare it to Google Sheets, and tell me whether we're on the right path, right? A good example might be, hey, your data of what you want to update Salesforce with is in Gmail. So we have good examples at Gumloop where our sales team will just go to an agent and say, prepare me for my meeting with, and that's going to go into Salesforce, it's going to go into their emails, it's going to do a deep dive into the web and return everything they need. And that might feel complicated and scary, but we're actually going to build that in about 10 minutes. Not in 10 minutes, it's going to take 10 minutes. Like that's how easy it is today to do this type of stuff. So raw work, I use this word like how much of our work is just pasting information from one place to another. A good example I use here is like, I generate a lot of content, and the bane of my existence is generating a video and then having to write the article underneath the video and then updating our documentation. So I have an agent help me with that. It doesn't do everything, right? But it can help me with that. It gets the transcript, reads our tone and voice, gives me a first draft that I edit and then publish. And then finally, a thinking partner, right? Like, do you want to go back and forth? Something that has an understanding of what you do, and you want to go back and forth. Examples here are, hey, you're writing a blog post or you want to find internal links. You're pretty good at that, but you want to hand off some of that to go back and forth with a super smart intern. So,
and Aaron, just a really great, a really timely question in the chat here from Diana. Could you just quickly cover how is Gumloop different from Gemini or ChatGPT agents?
Yep. I'll cover that as we're building a few at a high level. The first is that we are 100% focused on building useful AI agents for your business, right? And that first challenge, the first difference is like we integrate to much more complicated tools like Salesforce, right? HubSpot, and BigQuery, and we allow deploying those agents across every surface in which you work, whether that's connecting to your calendar, going into Slack, and really creating those agents that are core to your team. And we only do this, right? We're not a ChatGPT replacement. We're not a Claude replacement. We are really a place to build AI agents and orchestrate them for non-technical folks. So examples I'm going to build today. First, a meeting prep agent. That's the one I'm going to build step by step, right? Just to show you how Gumloop works. And honestly, I love building these so much. If you have ideas of how you would prep for a meeting, let me know in the chat, and I'm happy to like adjust as I build. Then we're going to build a sales agent. I'm going to use it on Salesforce. You can build it on Google Sheets, which I'll share in the chat. And then we also have an Airtable example that we can share that folks can build alongside. And then if we have time, that famous YouTube to blog post, which I talked about a moment ago. Jan, good to go? Start building?
Good to go. Let's do it.
Okay, so George asked the question. So I'm just going to get, what is the Gumloop versus other tool AI kind of automation platforms? The first is that, Gumloop came about in the AI era. And what that means is, we want to make it as easy as possible to build AI agents. And this is going to actually go into my first example. We're actually going to build this right here. So this is an email that was fully prepared by AI that prepares me for a meeting. Gives me a background on the person, tells me what they've done, tells me their social media activity, their career highlights, and what I should talk to them. This was fully generated with AI. And in about 10 minutes, you're going to drop an email and it's going to do all the work for it. And then if we have time, I can connect it to my calendar so it runs in the background. Okay. So let's build this right here. So I'm going to go to gumloop.com.
Just for everyone watching now, this is really like if I was a school teacher now, pens down moment. Just watch along with what Aaron's doing. It's especially great if this is the first time seeing Gumloop, that you get a little bit familiar with the platform. And then we'll let you know once we're in the live build where you should be building along, and the pace will be a little bit slower. So this is really, Aaron's going to rip through this just to give you an idea of how easy this is to set up, and also that you get a little bit familiar with the platform.
Cool. So gumloop.com, this is where you're going to land when you sign up, right? I'm going to go into agents on the left, and we're going to go ahead and create an agent together. I'm going to click create agent. Boom. And for everyone who said they never built an agent, we just did it. This is an agent, right? Now, let's talk a little bit about what is an agent. Now, you're all probably familiar with ChatGPT and Claude, and this is kind of no different. At this point, we have the model here in the top right. It's using Sonnet, and I always like to do, what can you do? Now, the first kind of learning is that your AI agent, as weird as this sound, is your best partner in building itself, right? You have this super smart intern, right? I say, what can you do? It says, oh, I can, create automations, access external tool, execute tasks. I have access to all this stuff. Great. Now, remember, what is our goal for this agent? We want it to prepare us for meetings. So what tools do I need to give it access to do that for us, right? So I'm going to go in the bottom right. We have tools. This is everything this agent can do. Right now, it can do nothing. It's basically ChatGPT or Claude because we're using Sonnet, right? So let's go ahead and start giving it access to tools. So first up, click here. I'm going to connect an app. Now, there's already people in the chat, like, what connections do you have? Now, in my case, what do I want to give it access to? Well, I want it to enrich my contact. So I see Apollo here at the top, right? Now, in Gumloop, you have access to all of these different tools, right? So in my case, I want to use Apollo. So I'm seeing LinkedIn in the chat, right? So Apollo has information from LinkedIn. So I'm going to connect that. LinkedIn doesn't allow you to connect directly to it. So I'm going to save that. And now when I send a message, right? When I send a message, this agent now knows it has access to Apollo. So I'm going to say, what can you do with Apollo? So it's important to understand when you send a message, we are telling the agent it can do things with Apollo. It's going to be like, oh, I can find people, I can enrich, right? There we go. Okay. So what can we know? Oops. What can we know about Aaron? Oh, every time someone joins the weight room, I get my
Yeah, I'm trying to let them in very, very quickly.
Yeah, got you. What can know? It'll figure it out, right? Great. And now it's enriching the person. It's returning that information.
And are you a bit worried about what it's going to tell us, or you're comfortable with your past?
No, I'm good. I am the principal yapper at Gumloop. Do you want me to put you in? So tell me what it knows about you.
No. All good,
if you want. Great. Okay, so now we know about Aaron. There's some questions in the chat around like, okay, can we give it access to the web? Yeah, let's add web search. Now it's important. So I just saved. Remember, every time you add something, you save the agent, so it now has access to this new information. Can you do a quick web search about Gumloop? Now, your agent is your partner in building itself, right? A few things to remember. Your agent has no memory, ever. It does not exist. AI has no memory at all. That has two kind of important things to remember. So there's some questions about, how do credits work? And those two things are tied. Every time you send a message, we're telling the agent, here's the tools you have access to. Here are your instructions. And then it answers based on that. When you send a new message, the agent has no memory of what happened before. We send the whole thread, right? So we send everything that happened before, okay? Why is this important? Is when you start a new chat, the agent has no memory of what you've done so far. So I'm going to continue chatting here, and I want to get to a point where it's going to do an output that I like, right? And that's when you're going to have to save some information into the instructions. Instructions are your memory across conversations. It's how you work. So the difference between my meeting preparation agent and your meeting preparation agent is going to be the instructions, right? There's some great questions in the chat. Let's keep going through, and I'm going to answer all of them as we go. How do we give memory to the agent? That's through the instructions. Okay, so I'm going to say, okay, so we've got some information about the company. We've got Apollo. I'm going to say, let's add in X. Now, when you're doing this on your end, every time you add a new tool, sometimes it's going to ask you to connect. So if you're using an internal tool or something like X, it's simply going to OAuth you. So if you use other automation tool, Gumloop is all about OAuth. Means you're using your credentials. You're not storing API keys and things like that. Things like Apollo are on our credentials. We're offering it to you through your Gumloop subscription. I'm going to say, can you find...
And Aaron, is there an easy way in the interface to know whether it's like whether we need to add our own API key or
great question,
or whether like Gumloop is then using the Gumloop credits to run it?
So you'll see Apollo is a good example. Use Gumloop default. This is saying using our credentials.
Yeah.
You can use your own sometimes as well. So if it doesn't ask you to connect, that means you're using Gumloop credentials. So a good example, let me add one where I would have to add credentials, something I don't use. So SEMrush, you can use our credentials. I don't use Tableau. I don't think I do. You see it says connect. That will bring me through the OAuth kind of authentication.
And OAuth, like let's say the layman's term of that is simply it's just going to take you to a page where you log in. And after you log in, it's going to jump you straight back to Gumloop, and then you'll be connected.
Okay, let's see if you can figure out. See, it's searching for, there we go. I said, can you find recent tweets from Aron? It's thinking, it found the user. You'll notice here, it's showing me what it's doing. I can click into any of these and see the whole tool call. We're not going to go into this, but this is essentially seeing what the LLM sees as well. Great. So most recent tweets. Okay. We're in this thread, it's kind of getting through everything I need, right? I'm going to say, okay, we have Aaron's work history, a search about Gumloop, and recent posts. My God, I can't type. I was going to swear there. And recent post. Now I want it to send me an email. I have to give the agent the ability to send emails. How do I do that? I use Gmail. So I'm going to go into apps. I'm going to bring in Gmail. And now it can send emails. Now, important note, if I click in, I see everything that this tool can do, what this agent can do on my behalf. It can read emails, send emails, update emails, create draft, and I can limit what the agent can do. Very important when you're connecting to tools like Salesforce. Maybe you don't want it created. So there's some questions around integrations. You can always search our integrations right here, right? And you can also add custom MCPs. So if you have an MCP server that we are not integrated into, you can add your own. That's awesome. Okay, so I've given it access to Gmail. Can you send me an HTML email with all of this information and some talking points? This is gonna be weird because it's about myself, but whatever. I'm actually, funny enough, when I started doing this, the agent wasn't smart enough to know that it was about me. Now it's probably going to tell me like, hey, this is about you. That's kind of weird. And then I'm going to say, make it a beautiful HTML email. I want this to look good. Now, as it's doing this, it's going to kind of summarize all this information. A good question is like, okay, what is the value? I don't want to go through this every single time, right? And this is where I kind of talk about how do I give it memory across conversations, right? So my goal for this agent is to prepare me for meetings, right? I can say, okay, you are a meeting preparation agent. Your goal is to, make sure I'm prepared for meetings. I don't know. I can probably do a little better than that. First, so I'm going to give you an email or a name. I want you to first search the web, then use Apollo to enrich the contact, find recent posts, and generate a beautiful HTML email and send it to me. Now, these instructions are how the agent has memory across conversations. Great. So it's just send me an email, right? And I'll kind of talk about why I'm having a conversation with it before writing those instructions. Let me go open up that email. Any questions in the chat that I should?
Just like one, but maybe like let's open up the email first, and then I've got a really good question from Zubin that I want to ask you afterwards. But I just want to wait till the demo's finished. I think you might point it out a little bit.
So okay, it's giving me this email. Looks okay. It's not as good as the one we had before, right? So let me finish this up a little bit. I want to say, okay, I'm using Sonnet. Let's bump up the model quality. So in Gumloop, you have access to pretty much every model out there: Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, and you can pick. Now, a question I get a lot is like, which model should I pick? What I recommend is start with an advanced model, right? And once you're happy with the output, decline the quality of the model until you're still happy with the output. So I'm not happy with this email, right? I'm going to say
very AI sloppy, a bit of gradients in there.
Yeah. I was going to say, okay, your email was sloppy, was AI slop. Let's, make it a little nicer. So I want block sections, tone down the colors, and send me another HTML email. Now, what we're doing in this conversation is getting to an output that we like. Once we get there, we're going to tell the agent, hey, I like what you did. Write me some instructions that I can add so you do this every time. So there's some questions.
Yeah. And I think, Aaron, this is the question from Zubin that I think is a great point to point up here. He basically asked, because as you were adding the different tools, can we force an agent to use tools at different steps? And I think this is a bit of thinking that, especially if people are used to building the traditional automations, where they struggle with, because an agent by design is non-deterministic. And so all you have to do is in these agent instructions is basically lay that out, but it's not going to be as let's say, or one for one as building out an automation saying this tool happens, then this tool happens, then this tool. You can guide it with the instructions, but it is still a little bit flexible, right?
Yes. And what I will say, that is an advantage, right? That is not a fault. The value here is that an agent will recover. It'll try something else. It'll give you way better output. So your job before coming back to here, right? I could build this, but and then, something would happen here. And then we have to spend 4 days building out this branch, right? Agents recover. They handle complexity, edge cases in a way that is so much better, even if you're building something automated, which I'll get to in a moment. Okay, let's go look at this email, right? Let me go open up my inbox. Fine, I'll show you my inbox. That's fine. There we go. Much better.
Nice.
Wow.
Looking good.
This is cool. Okay, so this is the takeaway, especially for folks who have experience building automations. I like this. How do I replicate it? Right? Just this whole. So I'm going to say, I love this email. I love this email. What can I add to your instructions so you generate this email exactly next time? Right? I'm using this conversation to improve the agents. And this is something that takeaway is, I always say, make an agent, improve its instructions until you love what it does, and then put it into an automation, right? So you see, okay, it's giving me color palette, block structure, and this is what I add to the instructions. Wow. Okay, so email design instructions. So let me go ahead and add this in. So there's a great question in the chat. Isn't the value of agents their ability to anticipate and read intentions? Yes, right? Let me show you something. This is a really cool answer to that question. Man, I'm excited about this. Okay, I'm going to remove the instructions, all of them. I'm going to save them. I'm going to go to a new chat. And I don't know if we have a guinea pig. Let me do max at gumloop.com. What are my intentions? It has no idea. It's just like, okay, I have an email. What do you want me to do with it? It's trying to figure it out. It's persistent. What do you like? It's like, oh, do you want me to search your emails? What am I going to do? Okay, let's add back the instructions. Now it has a much better idea of our intention. It doesn't mean that it loses its ability for nuance or for circling back. But now if I say max at gumloop.com, it's going to read its instructions and understand that what I probably want is to be prepared for this meeting. And boom, it does everything for me. So it doesn't lose any of the qualities that I like about an agent. Its persistence, its ability for nuance, its ability to do multiple things on my behalf. But now when I give it an email, it has a better understanding of what it is that I want it to do. Right? Does that make sense, this distinction?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think just one thing, like for people seeing this for the first time, I think it's very important as you start playing around with this more and more, you'll identify like what are really, really good use cases for AI agents. And I think this is a great example, but they're as amazing as they are and as quick as they are to build, as you can see, we still would say they're still not for everything. For instance, if you're setting up your first website and you just want someone fills out a form on your website and you want to save that to a Google Sheet or you want to save that to a CRM, that is nothing that you need an agent for because an agent doesn't follow the same steps every single time. It can be this little bit flexible. Whereas form submission, save, that's what you want just a pure automation for. What you would then do if you would want to, let's say, based on the person filling out the form, you would then want to have an agent research them. Make sure you save them to the system first using a pure automation, and then go and trigger out an agent that can be a little bit more creative.
So Keith asked, are the AI instructions you're giving a system prompt? Yes, we don't use the word system prompt because we're a tool for non-developers, but that is a system prompt. Exactly. So let's look at this email. So you see the distinction with instructions. It understood my nuance, but it still did a lot, right? It did 8 tool calls, 3 messages, right? Like it went through a ton of data, but now it understands my intent, my purpose, right? So there's a ton of questions like, do we need to create a separate Apollo account? No, you don't.
And we had the same question, Aaron, for the models as well. And I believe all of the models, the ones
all
you showed,
included.
Everything
is included.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure I'm going to get a question around. So just to actually, let me close out. Like it generated this email automatically. I just gave it an email. So amazing. 2 more things I want to show you to like round out the Gumloop demo, and then we can start building together. Right. First is I said you can build AI agents connected to everything that are available everywhere. Right now, you have to go to the gumloop.com kind of UI, pick your agent and be like, oh, I'm meeting with Jan. Can you prepare me? Honestly, kind of great. Not going to lie, kind of cool, right? But what if you want to bring this into Slack? And what if you want to connect this to your calendar? I'm going to do the connecting to calendar really, really quickly because that is a more advanced functionality that I don't think we necessarily need to get today, but I still want to show you. It takes 2 seconds. So if you are familiar with automation tools like Zapier or Make, this will feel very familiar. If not, I have a bunch of resources and we have a whole cohort to run this, and Jan has content as well. I'm going to build a flow. Flow are our deterministic kind of part of Gumloop, right? So this is node-based automation. So what I would want to do is I want to go to my calendar, right? So I'm going to read my calendar. I'm going to have this on as a trigger. This is very much like Zapier or Make. And I'm going to say, okay, go to my Aron demo calendar, 15 minutes before each event. Wake up that agent, right? The agent we just built. So go to agent, bring that in. I'm going to say, okay, I think I forgot to give it a name. It's called Steady Builder. I'm going to call this meeting prep agent go 9x. And I'm happy to share this as a template after. We have a bunch of templates at gumloop.com/templates. Let me refresh here. There we go. I'm going to say, okay, this is going to read who I'm meeting with. Let me grab an example. I'm meeting with Emily. That's my next meeting, right? So let me go back here. And what I want to say is I want to prepare me for my meeting with. And here I want to put whoever I'm meeting with. This is as if we're waking up the agent. Hey, I have a meeting with Emily. I have a meeting with Sam Altman, right? I want to trigger the agent with a prompt with who I'm meeting with. So I'm going to connect. That's going to make the values from this node available. and I can either drag in the email or more easily just type at email. Now I'm going to run this.
And now, like, what's brilliant about this as well, Aaron, because if you notice there, like, there's attendee emails. If you were to try and do this in a pure automation, you would have to like build that loop through all of the emails. What I assume would happen here is it'll just say, there's 5 people in the call. Let me research all of them and give you the full brief, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. So you see the agent is running. And honestly, I've been building automations for 10 years. Okay, if you want to like get to 90% of the value of automation in today's world, build an agent, make it good, improve its instructions, make sure that every email you give it, it does what you want it to do, whatever your workflow is. And then you're going to see all these automations on the web of 50 nodes and like, all this. This is 90% of the value is right here. Trigger.
And I really think there's a difference. There's a difference happening now in terms of the way you're building, that actually you're spending less time on the setup like this, like connecting the tools. Where you're spending most of your time when you're building this out is, as you said, making it good. And that's by iterating on the prompt, right? And on the instructions. And that is like, that is so important, of like testing this a few times, running it with a bunch of data. And where you're spending the most time is just iterating on the instructions to the agent.
Couldn't agree more. There's a great question. Is it better to have one agent to do multiple things or multiple agents to do one specific things in a more complex workflow? Okay, I want to just quickly talk about this. We have some downtime as the agent. Okay, it's done. Damn. Agent's too good, right?
And we see also for people asking there how transparent it is at the bottom with the credits in terms of how many credits were used.
Exactly. And I can talk a little bit about credits, and you'll feel this as you start building, right? Let's go into my email. And then so I should have a meeting with Emily. Let me go there. There we go. Bam. Now, just by saving this, this is now going to run 15 minutes before each. Just to give you an idea, it got my next meeting, right? So I'm looking at the outputs, Emily. And then the inputs were prepare me for my meeting. And then we saw everything that happened with the agent. We have a conversation ID that's multi-agent if we want to get into that. Everything that happened, don't worry about this. This is just all the thinking that the agent did. And then a response. This is the report, like the final response. And if I go to my meeting agent, here on the left, we're going to see this chat, right? It's exactly the same as if we've woken up that agent and said, hey, go do this thing, right? Okay, so that's it. Oh, one more thing, Slack. Really quickly, it'll take 2 seconds. Adding Gumloop to Slack. And we're publishing Teams this week. We're working on email. So these are native integrations. So the ability for anyone to use your agent, particularly useful in team environments. We have a webinar in about an hour and a half where we're talking about how teams are using agents. So if you want to build an agent for your team, you can click external channels, connect to Slack, right? Now, a few things you need to know. So I have my little Slack here. You can go to add apps, browse Slack Marketplace, right? Find Gumloop, and then install Gumloop on your workspace. That's step 1, right? That'll give the ability for you to add agents to channels. I've already done that. So let me go back into home. Let me create a new channel. I'm going to call this meeting prep. Now, not the best like team agent, meeting prep, go 9x. Okay, let's create. And now I'm going to add Gumloop, invite the Gumloop. This allows us to send messages. And now I need to tie the agent to this channel. Agents can be across multiple channels. So let's go into, I'm going to go back into a chat, add to Slack. We see this command right here. We call agents gummies, right? So let's go back into Slack. I'm going to paste that in. This is adding the agent. Great. And I'm going to say Gumloop. This is starting a conversation from Slack. Prepare me for my meeting with, who should we put here? Let's do sam.altman@openai.com. So I guess he's probably Sam at OpenAI. So folks said it's not clear where I clicked. Let's go ahead and do that again. Totally okay. So you see now it's starting a conversation as if we were starting the conversation in the web UI. So if you're building agents for your team, you can bring them into Slack, and then we can follow along, right? Everything that's happening. So where did I click? Let me go back to the agent. It's right here. So you'll always see add to Slack in the top. If you go to external channels, you can also connect to Slack and you follow the steps right there.
Perfect. I think we have some
cool.
more questions in the chat, but I'm just wary of the time, and I think it's good that
Yeah.
we get building.
Let's
And
start building.
got them noted down.
Cool.
But super impressive. And like what I have to say, commend you on is that Slack integration as well. I think it's one of the best I've seen because obviously these agents, what's happening is things take a time to respond, and the fact that you're giving these constant updates and updating the messages, it's a super like sleek experience.
Yeah, and we've been really iterating on it. So now you have commands, you can do link, you can do stop, right? And I think, this ability to work as a team on an agent is super valuable, because then one person is building, everyone is using, and it's really powerful. Okay.
Nice.
So do we want to do a CRM example? This is one I've got.
I think people are excited about the sales example. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it. Okay, so
I'll share in the chat one more time that link if anyone hasn't copied the Google Sheet.
Okay, so very important. Make sure to copy this sheet. I dropped the link in the chat. Do not use, so this is read only. So file, make a copy, paste it. Honestly, if you want, you can also have the agent build one for you. Totally okay, right? Just copy this and let's go ahead and start building our agent. So let's imagine that this is our CRM. This could be Salesforce, this could be Airtable, and our goal is to allow to like update or look at this information. Okay? So I'm going to try to do this like simultaneously. If it's too fast, too slow, let me know. Ask questions in the chat. Let's go into Gumloop. Let's go create an agent. Now, I'm here, and I'm going to call this CRM Updater.
And maybe feel free, everyone, if you can like use the reaction at the bottom, just give us a thumbs up if you've been able to get here and just create the first agent. Yep, we've got Manuel. Perfect. Awesome. All right, let's cook.
Okay. So first step, I need here's a tip. Can you access Google Sheets? If you're like, it's your first day, just talk to the agent. Agent can help. Like, can you access Google Sheets? Okay, now it's trying to build a server. I'm like, probably not. So let's go ahead and connect an app and let's give it access to Google Sheets. Now, let's save that and say, can you access?
And just for everyone here, Aaron, people doing this for the first time, they'll see a connect button where they, is there a way that you can actually remove your connection, or that'll cause too many headaches?
I think I have too many agents. Let me connect something else. Let me give you an example that I feel comfortable connecting to. Let's do something like maybe, what would be a good example that I don't have a connection to? Adio. Okay, let's add. You'll see connect, and it's just going to bring you into the OAuth flow where you connect with your account, and that gives me Gumloop access to that tool. So in this case, you'll have to log in through Google, your Google Workspace, and it's going to go ahead and do that. So let me know if you have any issues. There's some questions around, I'm an AI consultant. How do I pass down the ownership to my clients? That's why we have the team account. So you can have your team. So I can talk a little bit about permissioning. We have this concept of workspace credentials, right? So if you're on the team plan or above, you can share credentials across a workspace, and that'll be able to have your client give you access to the tools that they use so you can build the automations. And then when you're done, you can hand it back to them. Or you can also have, kind of team level credentials to tools. So everyone's using one credential from Slack or something like that. Cool. Okay. Are we connecting to Google Sheets?
Maybe we can get a thumbs up. How did everyone go with the Google Sheets connection?
Cool. Yeah, and I'm going to answer another. Oh, we're good? Okay.
We're good.
Now, very important. Like, when we give access to Google Sheets, it's not necessarily finding the Google Sheet, right? So can you access my CRM sheet? Like, again, just
Maybe
ask
this is
it.
while that one's running. This is a very important distinction to maybe how some people are used to with other tools, where you'd actually connect Google Sheets and then from a drop down you'd pick what
Yes.
sheet you want to work on. Here you are giving the AI agent access to all of your Google
No,
Sheets
you're
and said,
not. Actually, the opposite. You
"You're
are
not."
not giving it. You
Ah,
are,
okay,
but it cannot search them. So what it
gotcha,
can do, so this is really interesting. I said, can you access my CRM sheet? And it said, just paste the Google Sheet link and then I can access it, right?
gotcha. Okay,
So we do give access to Google Drive. So you can do
yeah,
things like explore. So actually a good example, I saw a use case of a salesperson here. They had a customer has like a Google Sheet of projections and document. And you were like, hey, look through this Google Drive. And it was able to read everything in the Google Drive. There's some permissioning kind of trickiness here. So I'm going to say, okay, our CRM is here. I'm going to say, can you look at it and tell me what you see? Oh, this might be the share link. I think as the owner, I should be okay. Let me see.
and normally they're smart enough to pull out the ID from the.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's more than smart enough. It can analyze. I see 3 CRM data sets with 3 sheets. It's like it's looking through, it's pulling all the information. Let me pull some actual data. Great. CRM overview. Now remember, this chat knows where my CRM lives. If I start a new chat, no idea. Never heard of you before. Right? Like, do you know that movie like 50 First Dates? That's what happens when you talk to agents. In fact, fun fact that I learned recently, not only do agents not have memory across chats, they don't have memory across tokens. So like every word it generates, you have to pass in everything that happened before so it can generate the next word, right? Which is kind of crazy. But
And just on the like benefit of this one though, like
yeah,
it's sort of by design a little bit, because imagine you set up like a customer service agent. In each chat, it's dealing with one ticket. You don't want it to get confused by the last 10
exactly.
tickets it dealt with, which was a completely different
Yes.
topic. Everything that it should remember for all chats in terms of how it should go about finding the information, the tone it should use, that all goes into the instructions. And then
Yeah.
it's only dealing like one ticket at a time and has this like locked in context.
Okay. So I'm going to say you are a CRM agent and your goal is to help the sales team manage the CRM. So update, add contacts, etc. Now, very important, I'm going to say our CRM lives here. And here, I'm going to paste the spread. Let me actually, can I edit this one? Oh, I can. Okay. Right here. Okay, now let's do a cool thing here. And this is, I hope, what you take away from this conversation. Look at here. Look at everything it did. It said get sheet name. It said, okay, I'm going to give you a URL, and then it got every single sheet. Then it got spreadsheet info, like how many table, the background, all the colors. And then it got every single piece of information from that sheet. Now remember, the agent only remembers this, right? So if I go to a new chat, and I'm going to say, can you add Jan at Go9X to our CRM as a contact? So it says, okay, it's going to get the message. I'm a CRM agent, and here's the Google Sheet. Now notice what it does again. It's getting the sheet name. It's like, okay, let's check the structure. It's duplicative because it has no idea, right? Like it's doing all that work again. So yes, your agent can do the work, but there was a lot of questions. I know Europeans are very sensitive about tokens for environmental reasons and money, and I totally get that. So let me give you the best tip of leaving here today. So you see it added Jan. Amazing. Just that. Fucking cool. Can I swear? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Green
cool.
light.
Okay, amazing. Now, it did all this. Now remember, what is the cost of Gumloop? Let me just kind of talk about this, right? So this costs 32 credits. 100% of that was chat and reasoning. what that means is we have to analyze every single token that comes in, right? So every time it's like, okay, it's got 3 sheets. Oh, it's got these and then let me get all the, why would we have, like as a human, we don't do that. We remember things. So this is the tip I want you to leave here with. So, okay, don't have to start with, okay, I just do that. What did you learn from the structure of our CRM that I can add to your instructions so you do less tool calls in the future? Now, this is a fancy way of saying, what did you learn from this conversation? Right? See, go ahead.
Just while that one's running, we've got a couple of people who are having some issues with the Google Sheets connection. Could it be that after because they're saying they confirm their credentials, but then still can't, the agent still can't access it? Do they maybe sometimes need to like refresh the page?
No, it's probably they're not providing the URL. So the URL has to be provided somewhere in the chat or in the instructions, right?
Okay.
If you are...
okay, and it could be that, be careful, what you should not use is the link that Aron shared. Make sure that you are making a copy of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because you do not have...
And then some folks are saying refresh. Yeah, you might have to refresh. Okay, so it learned about our CRM structure. And then you see it says, here are the sheets. Here are the contact sheet columns, right? So we can now add this to our instructions. And this is going to reduce the cost of the next tool call. It'll be faster, it'll be better. And so the one takeaway I want you to kind of take from this session, right, is start small, right? We started with nothing. We just said, can you access Google Sheets? And then we said, no, I can't. I have to give the URL. So we added the URL. Then we tried it a few times and we noticed like, feels like you're doing a lot of work, right? Let's say, hey, what did you learn from this conversation? Add it to the instructions. Now, the next time, it's going to go ahead and work. It's going to do reduce the amount of work, right? So if we go back to a new chat and say, can you add Alex at Go9X to our CRM? What I'm hoping here, and this might not be the case, is that it reduces the amount of tool calls it goes ahead and does, right? So now we went directly to batch get tool. So it only did 1 tool call, right? And now it's appending the values. So we've just reduced the amount of effort this agent has to do. So that's one example of using conversations to improve the agent. Sometimes it may make a mistake, right? It may say like, it might update or create a new agent, right? To go ahead and do that.
And on this one, Aron, while we're on improving the agent, there was one question that I saw in the chat earlier. It's a little bit more on the advanced side, but are there any Gumloop tools available? So could we give the agent a tool that it can update its own instructions and therefore create this like autonomous learning behavior?
Give us like a week, right? Because here's the thing, like my thoughts, maybe not Gumloop, my thought on this is in Gumloop, we have a very singular focus, right? We want to build AI agents that are good for you and your team. When I'm working, I may be okay with self-updating instructions, right? But if I'm the builder and I bring an agent to my team, you know what I would hate? That it starts adding stuff to the instructions that me as the builder am not aware of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And like, it'd be great if it answers in French to French-speaking folks, but if it starts answering in French to everybody, that would suck, right? So there's this challenge of, what are user preferences versus agent preferences versus builder preferences, right?
Makes sense.
And right now, what I would say is we're at the point where if you are building agents for your team or for yourself, I'm okay with self-updating instructions. Like what I mean is like me updating them myself, right? But we are working on, do we want to suggest maybe integrations? We are going to make it easier so that if you say, can you access Google Sheets? It just says yes, and then pops up Google Sheets. Like those are things that are coming in the next few weeks, right? But for now, we want to empower the builder, right? So we don't want to, even like we could make web search on by default, right? But that might eat tokens. We want to give you the power. So just a note, you can also, I saw someone mention like, can you turn PDFs into whatever, anything else, or create a blog post. Yeah, you can add a file. You can generate images. We have all the image models here. You can use web search. You can even use a code sandbox if you want to generate PDFs or things like that, or filter information a little more precisely. Okay, what else did I want to do? Okay, so, Saran guys, how do I see the tokens consumed? Yeah, so you have to, we refresh it once you click away, right? So this is 36, 32, honestly, pretty cheap. And now this is on Sonnet. Remember, what I always recommend is start on a powerful model, and then you could move to something like 3Flash. 3Flash is super fast, super cheap, right? And you can iterate over. Okay, I'm gonna answer a few questions. Oh, really cool thing. Let's do a cool thing. Let's bring this into Slack, or we can do it here. So remember that your agent is not, like we said, your goal is to update, add contacts, etc. You may also be asked to generate reports. I don't have to add that to the instructions. I think it's kind of cool. Let's go ahead and bring this. Imagine this is, like a team level agent. Let me bring it into Slack. And, you can also share it across your team in Gumloop. I just think Slack's kind of cool. Let's do CRM agent go 9x. Remember, how do I add an agent to Slack? Let's go invite Gumloop, step 1.
And so, Aaron, we're moving on to the reporting agent?
No, this is, no? No, not really. So this is a reporting agent as well. I can do so this is what I think is really interesting. We can build the Airtable one or the Salesforce one after. We have 30 minutes. That'd be more than enough time. But what I want to show here is this example that your agent has autonomy. And not autonomy is the wrong word, right? It understands nuance. So here I have a CRM agent. It understands the structure of our CRM, and I'm using it to update and to share information. But I can also be like, hey, what does our pipeline look like? Right? And it can understand and answer questions about that. So one of the most popular use cases we're seeing at Gumloop is democratizing access to information, right? So you give access to underlying databases like BigQuery or Salesforce or Airtable or Google Sheets, and you allow people to ask questions about that data, and the agent can figure out the information, right? So we're here. I'm going to go ahead and add to Slack, copy, boom. And I'm going to say, hey, Gumloop, give me what does our pipeline look like? Now, I haven't said, there's not even the word pipeline in my Google Sheet. It just says opportunities. But it's going to understand that when I say, what does our pipeline look like, what it means. See, right away, opportunity sheet. Easy. Crushed it. Right? And now, with what I showed you before, you can automate, boom. Amazing, right? And then let's do, can you generate a graph of what that looks like broken down by salesperson? So I'm continuing in the thread, right? And I've given it access to image generation, I hope. I have. So now it's going to go ahead and generate an image of what our pipeline looks like, broken down by salesperson. We also have a Gamma integration. So you can do things like, hey, generate generate my weekly pipeline report, go into Gamma, or we're adding in Google Slides.
How are you finding the Gamma integration? I've struggled a little bit with spreadsheets in terms of keeping the design quite consistent.
So here's what I'm hearing a lot of. People are like, oh, generate this presentation, Bob. I hate presentations. I just want my questions answered. So that's what, once you democratize the access, you actually don't need presentations anymore, right? That's what I love. I think I get so many of can you read Google Slides? And okay, so you're generating data, creating slides about them. But what if you just gave access to the data and anyone can come and do their analysis? And this is kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
In the thread, right? And this is
again,
what happens
here now, if people are wondering but if I want my graphs blue, if I want all of that inside the AI instructions, basically.
Or make graph blue. So you see we're continuing the thread. Cool?
This is insane. Super cool.
I know. And then, okay, let's do, I'm getting excited now. Let's imagine that I want a pipeline report every Friday at 8 a.m.
And this is
right?
using Nano Banana under the hood, is it, Aaron?
Yeah, whatever you want, right? So let's go into here. How do I know? I go into image generation. You have all of your different models here.
Yeah.
We have web search, right? And this is using the web search of the LLM provider, right? But you can also do other, we have like Firecrawl for scraping. We have
a lot of people asking around LinkedIn. I guess like Apollo for the data.
Apollo.
Do you have? Yeah.
So Apollo will give you information. Honestly, what I'm seeing more and more using something like Firecrawl, right? Not to get LinkedIn information, but just to get the information you want. Like, what is it that you're looking for? You can grab that through other providers. So let me go see, did it make it blue? Boom, made it blue. Haha. And if you always want it to be blue, instructions. Exactly. Really quickly, we got time. Let me automate pipeline reporting. So let's imagine every Friday I want a pipeline report. It's going to be a little more advanced, not advanced, but so I want to trigger an agent. I want to talk to an agent. So, and this is going to go into the multi-agent conversation that I saw in the chat, right? So I want to say at 8 a.m., wake up the agent. Hey, agent, generate a pipeline report, just like we did right here, right? What did I say? I said, what does our pipeline look like? Every morning, I want to wake up my little agent. Hey, buddy. You can also give them custom names. Cool. Let's go ahead and create a flow. I'll say, okay, agent, let's bring our agent into our flow. And just for folks who are going to be, we'll be here often with Go9X. In a couple months, we're moving a lot of this functionality to agents natively. So you won't have to build a flow.
Because right now the process is build the agent first, then create a flow, add the agent in.
Yeah. And we're going to be adding a lot of that functionality to agents natively, like a timer. Like I want you to run on this timer. I want you to integrate into other things. But for now, it's going to be here. So this is our CRM updater, right? And I'm say, what does our pipeline look like? Need it, right? Don't need it. That's a little annoying. Okay, now let's run this. And we're basically running the agent, right? Now, what's going to happen here? It's going to do the exact same thing it did here, but this answer response is going to go ahead and live right in this flow. Like the output is here. It's not useful to me, right? I want it to send me an email. And this is a lot of folks in the chat were like, how do we make an agent make deterministic steps? Well, then make a deterministic step in a flow, right? So let's go ahead and have a Gmail node. And I'm going to be like, okay, I want you to send it to me, right? So send me the response. So I'm going to send it to myself and I'm going to say your pipeline report. There we go. And let's run it again. So this is going to generate the pipeline report, and then it's going to send me an email. There we go. And there's a quick question, Paul, can you use prompts to create flow? Yeah, we have Gummy. You can build flows natively. But honestly, in most cases, I think this flow of like build an agent, make it do what you want it to do, put it into a flow. Let's go into my emails. Oops. Here we go. Not looking good. They gave me what I wanted. So let's spice up the email a little bit, right? Let's go back to here. Sorry, I have a lot of tabs. Okay, so between these two steps, I want AI to make a report, basically. Two ways to do that. Let's go here. Using AI, we can have a prompt that takes the response and then say, generate a beautiful HTML email using the information below. So we're going to format the email. Or even better, let's use generate report. We have generate report. Generate report. It's going to take that. We're going to format it into HTML. Let's bump up the model to something like, not Opus, that's probably overkill. Let's give Sonnet 4.5. And that's what we want to send in Gmail. And now a quick tip, you can This is a little fast. You don't have to do this on your end. I want to send as HTML. So let's run that one more time. Oh, I forgot to input the generator report. And now we run the agent, we format the report, we send it to us, and all we have to do is put this on a timer.
This is super nice. And I think this is a really good way of just showing, like, for every thing that you want to set up, every process you want to automate, there's multiple ways to get to a working solution. So in this case, you could have also easily just added a Gmail send option inside the agent, given it the instructions explained. So there's no like correct way. These are the type of things that you need to play around with as you're building and figure out what works for your exact use case that you're building right now.
Exactly. And that's a big question. It's like, should I add it to the instructions? Should I add that tool to the instructions? And really, that's up to your team. And this is what we want to give the people who build the ability to like decide what they want. Right. So let me just go one more time.
And of course, it's, again, if we're talking about tokens, it's important to know, like, by taking that email send out, you're technically also saving tokens, right? Because it doesn't need to call the tool.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're working a lot around how to make that smarter. So there we go. So now, pretty cool. We've got a pretty cool email, right? We can always adapt it more. So let's go ahead and simply set this on a timer. Add trigger, create a time trigger. Oh, I need to save it first. Boom. Every Friday at 8 a.m. Generate. This is saying, okay, create. Now, what does this do? Every Friday at 8 a.m. wakes up the agent. What does our pipeline look like? This does some thinking, goes to Google Sheets, gives us a pipeline. This generates a report in HTML, sends us the report. Easy. Right? Amazing. Okay. There's a question around, can Gumloop access? So I want to build an agent to search and answer questions on a company's information database. Doable. From Ivan or Ivan. Bonjour, Ivan. Yes, let's do that. That's the next one. So are we comfortable with this Google Sheet example?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just to like say to people right now, obviously what Aron showed is like a very simple example of like add Alex to the CRM, right? Add Jan to the CRM.
Yeah.
But with just a few steps, you can easily think about a flow like, hey, look, every time I'm having meetings with people, check my CRM. Is this person's email already there? If it's not, log it to the CRM. After the meeting, transcript, note, log it, these sort of things. Like it's just step-by-step building. And it's like what you really need to connect as someone looking at this for the first time. You might not think, it's impressive. Aron's just adding one row to a Google Sheet. But once you know you can do that, it's just limited by your ideas in terms of what comes next.
Okay, there's a great, absolutely. I want to answer Courtney's question around, okay, how do I bring this to my team? That's a really important question. So in Gumloop, right, you've built an agent, okay? Now you want to bring it to your team. There's a few ways you can do that. Maybe you want to bring it in the UI. Okay, so you want anyone to use your agent. So in Gumloop on the team plan and above, you have workspaces. So if I'm in the marketing workspace, I can invite people to that workspace and they have access to all the agents that have been built in that workspace. So they can go in. So for instance, at Gumloop, we have a marketing agent that gets used quite a bit, has access to all of the information that we use, and anyone on the marketing team can use it as long as they're invited to the workspace. Now, what happens if you bring an agent into Slack, right? So the first time you interact with an agent into Slack, you're going to be brought to the setup page. Where first it's going to be like, do you have a Gumloop account? You're going to go ahead and create your account. Then it's going to say, hey, this agent needs access to all these things. And that's where you're going to configure each one of your connections. That is if you're working on...
How does it work in some case here? Let's say, for instance, I'm part of the marketing team. I have direct access to Devon and Linear, but however, for Firecrawl and Webflow, we just use like a shared company account. Is there also an option to have like, as an admin to say, hey, Webflow, everyone can access, but they should access through this specific account?
This is cool. This was not set up, everyone. So that is exactly what we see here. Okay, so we have 3 types of authentication. I am the only person who uses Webflow or pays for Webflow. It's not a show. I use Webflow, let's say that, at Gumloop, right? So I've created workspace credentials. I said anyone who interacts with this agent can be me, right? So when Webflow receives the response, it is Aron making the updates, even if it's Jan prompting the agent in Slack. Then you have personal. This is whoever is interacting with the agent is the one we are OAuthing into. That's a fancy word to say representing to the tool. And then we have Gumloop, which is saying Gumloop has an account with Exa and Firecrawl, and you are using your credits to interact. There's no authentication there. And Devin is personal. So this is actually cool. If someone gets nerdy.
Cool. And a really great, like a couple of things. So one on the like workspace credentials, a little hack that we use as well at 9X. Let's say for Google Sheets, for instance, if you want to be a little bit careful about what tools, especially AI agents, have access to, you could even create a dedicated email for that. Like we have automation at Go9X. And then if we want a Google Sheet or a certain thing to be able to have like an agent to have access to that Google Sheet, we just need to add our automation at user, and then that gives it. And what's really great, then you understand like what things are being updated based on automations and agents, and what things are real people actually doing.
Absolutely. And so there's a question, how do we give it a subset of the linear MCP? So a few things. Whoa. Let's go into the marketing agent again, right? Now, two questions, actually, separate questions, but I want to answer them together. The first is, how do I make sure the person interacting with the tool is not having access to things they shouldn't in the tool, right? So this is very important for everyone to kind of leave here with. At Gumloop, we are honestly mainly an enterprise company. What that means is security and authentication is something we think extremely deeply about every single day because our customers think deeply about that. And that drives a lot of our decisions. And one of which is, that's why we go with OAuth, right? 100%. So that's why we force you to log in to the tools that you use. And what that means is this agent, when you're talking to it, it cannot see things you do not have access to. It is you to that tool, right? So we're using as if we are logged in as you. So there's never a risk of the agent getting access to data it shouldn't, as it would in the case of, APIs and things like that. And the second is, okay, well, even in that case, right, you can go to linear and delete everything. That may be a permission that you have. What you can do at the agent level is limit what the agent can do in addition to what you can do in that tool, right? So let me kind of give a very clear example here. Let's say in linear, I cannot delete issues, right? Even if the agent can, right? Well, we don't have delete as a tool. What might be a good, does Airtable have a delete? Salesforce might be a better one. Let's imagine you don't have update permissions. If you try to update, even if the agent can, in theory, you'll be blocked by your permissions. And then even if you have update ability, you can turn it off so no one interacting with this agent can do the thing that you want it to do. Cool?
And here, Aron, how does it work? Does this get loaded into the agent's context? So let's say the agent has this tool, and then it's got some like permissions toggled on and off. When it loads up, does it see, hey, I have access to SQL query, search, but not describe object?
So yes, but not in the way you're kind of, it doesn't even know it has access to it, right? Gotcha. So the way, when you send a message, right, let me save this. When you send the message, we send the instructions, and we send the available tools.
Gotcha.
So the agent doesn't know it has access to it. Even if for some reason it writes a script that tries to do it, you will be blocked because of OAuth, because you do not have that ability, right? And so it's not like we're saying, hey, you could, but we've turned it off. It doesn't even know.
No, but perfect, makes sense.
Okay, I want to make sure. So I want to answer the database question really quickly. So this is like one of the easiest and cool unlocks I've seen in working at Gumloop. Let me go into, I think I have cohorts and webinars. Let me do a sales agent, and let me remove its instructions, right? Now, I will be honest with you. The instructions I have are around anonymizing information, because this is live connected to our actual Salesforce. This is the only instructions I have, is just don't show any information. I've got it connected to Salesforce. I just connected to Salesforce. I'm gonna say, give me a pipeline report.
And so while this one's loading, a really good question from Rebecca asking, can someone else that uses your agent toggle these settings on and off, or is that something like an admin can set and then people using the agent can't edit this?
Great question. So if they have access to the agent in Gumloop, they can update that. They cannot do it from Slack, for instance, or if they don't have that ability, right? So yes. Does that make, okay, cool. So it gave me a pipeline report, right? Like the agents are amazing at using tools that have what we call a querying language. In this case, I'm gonna say, don't use a report. Get the information directly from Salesforce. So Zubin asked a question, can I share my agent with someone else on the team? Will the agent still use my OAuth tokens or ask them to log in? This is a great question. It depends on whether by default it uses personal default. That means everyone who is interacting with the agent is who is using the OAuth. So not your OAuth, not the builder or the workspace OAuth. If you have workspace default, that means that we're sharing credentials across that workspace.
And Aaron, how does that work specifically in Slack when you have maybe like 5 or 6 team members in the Slack channel? Is Slack picking up which user sent the message?
Yes. So what happens in Slack? So if I go to Gumloop and I don't have access,
I actually tried this in your Gumloop, in our shared Gumloop Slack channel, and it was like, no bueno. You don't you don't belong here.
Exactly. It's going to bring you to the setup page. So every agent has a setup page. Let me just show you this one. Oops. What did I miss? Oh, it's got a chat. I got to remove the chat. Boom. And it's going to say, well, I need you to OAuth into Salesforce.
And like this, basically, when I ask it something in Slack, it will reply with a link, or like the Slack just opens that browser automatically.
Yep. There we go. And so really, I think like what I hope people leave, I'm going to stop sharing it there. I can do the next 10 minutes of questions. Like I've been teaching, you know, you and I, Jan, have been teaching this for 10 years, right? Like we're old. You know, I remember working with you for ages, and like, it's never been easier, right? And what I will say for everyone learning today, it's never been easier, but people still hesitate. They still struggle because it's a different muscle. Before it was like, can I plan out everything that's going to happen and build you this really complicated automation that it's going to go viral on social media, 50 nodes and you know, blah, 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 blah. And what the new muscle is not, do you know of everything, all the edge cases and things like that. The new muscle is, can you iterate? Can you listen to what your team wants and connect the, like, it's not hard, but it's a different muscle. And what's exciting to me is that I truly think for the first time, it is democratized. That doesn't mean that everyone can do it. In fact, I would argue that it's not the same people. It's new folks and kind of giving access. And I think what's blocking a lot of folks is what models felt like 2 years ago. I get a lot of questions around, oh, can it, you know, RAG and fine tuning and all this stuff we've heard on social media for 98% of use cases. That's not necessary.
Yeah,
right. Definitely. The agent is smart enough. The models are smart enough. Really, the only limiting factor is, are you willing to iterate? Are you willing to have a few good conversations before they become great and deploy them to your team? I
think just on that, Aaron, as well, what I really want to like emphasize is just the way you went about building there. And I think something that's coming up more and more, and like also if you're using tools, like a couple of weeks ago, we did a session here on Claude Code, where what I basically said there is, don't think going into that session, say, hey, I want you to build this automation. Just like walk it through doing the process once. And that's exactly what you did. And I think a lot of people, like if you started, just try this instead of going straight to like ChatGPT or Gemini, when you have like an ad hoc task where you're like, I just need it to help me with this one thing. Like try doing that in Gumloop. And what's great about it is if you get a very good result, you can easily say, hey, like, can you turn this into something, into a template, give me the instructions so I can use this more and more? Because so many times you've done a conversation in ChatGPT and what you haven't realized is you've unloaded a load of context that's so important and so useful to be able to run it the next time. But then you need to just go back and do it all over again. And if you do a couple of these in Gumloop or in tools like Claude Code and then ask it to save it, you don't realize like in 2 weeks' time, you'll have to do that exact same process. And then you're like, oh, I've already got this. I just give it the email and it will go off and do that research.
Yeah, exactly. And I really, if I one thing is like start small, you know, it's interesting. I come, you know, here every 3 months, and every 3 months I'm like, oh, it's so much better. Right. And that is simply because we are trying to make it as easy as possible to get started. And a lot of things you referenced was like self-updating instructions. We're thinking about what does the skill look like in this new world, right? And there was a question around like multi-agent. What you're going to notice as you start building these, especially in organizations, as opposed to, you know, solo in productivity, is that there are these agents that kind of builders build and everybody loves, right? So for instance, at Gumloop, we have this thing called Gumball that has access to our BigQuery that we ask questions about. Now, I use Gumball in a lot of my flows, right? And so you have these almost like, I hate the word colleagues, right? But the underlying thing to remember across all of these is they all started with like someone being like, I wonder if I can do BigQuery, right? And then, you know, we have like 20, 30 pages of instructions for BigQuery that were written by AI.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I really don't have like more advice than like, I'm going to just drop some resources. Jan, make sure to follow your courses, Go 9X. We'll probably be back here in a couple of months and I'll be like, remember what I did 2 months ago? It's now 10X easier, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also drop in the chat, like, as I said, like Aron will definitely be back on another 9X live. So also drop in, like, what are some of the use cases that you'd like to see Aron build next time? That's always super useful. And then we can make sure we're tailoring it to it.
We could do, it'd be really cool to do like people just pop up use cases in the chat and then we could just build them live. That's, you know, that's always really fun. So, yeah, do you want me? So we have Gumloop University. We do cohorts every 2 weeks. We'll be back here in a couple months. The Go 9X coupon will be good for a couple more weeks. So go ahead and use that. Actually, yeah, it should be still good. Go ahead and use it. Get your first month for free. I hope to see you in cohorts, university, and honestly, just build an agent. Start there, start small. If you build something cool, please share it in our templates, share it with me. Yeah, and any final words?
Yeah, just a couple of people asking if like they missed some things in the session or it went too quickly. Like everyone who signed up to the session, you will receive the recording of this in your email inbox tomorrow. You can put it at 0.5x speed and make sure everything is understood for sure. And as Aron said, look at those resources that he's dropping in the chat now. And if you have any questions, just drop them directly to Aron.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Really appreciate the time.
90 minutes is good, right? Last time was 60. It was too short.
I mean, I could build 20 agents in 90 minutes, you know? I'm just happy that folks, hopefully what I hope is that everyone who said at the beginning, this is my first agent, you're leaving here with an agent, or at least, you know, the ability to build an agent. If that's not the case, I haven't done my job. So please, I hope to be back and we'll get it there. And in 2 months, we're going to come back and people will be like, oh, look at these amazing agents I've built. But yeah, really appreciate the time, Jan. Really appreciate everyone.
And remember that offer for Aron. If you run out of credits, just slide him a DM. You know, he's the credit man.
Here's what I'll say. If you are close to running out of credits, build an agent that can figure out my email and my Twitter. And then if you share that agent with me, I will give you credits.
Amazing.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right.
Then thank you so much, everyone. And hopefully see some of you next week as well for our session on evals, which are also super, super important as you start scaling some of these agents. Awesome. Aron.